Keeping excellence in mind, where the coach can unwind. And if you parents need advice, well, don't think twice. For everything you need to know, it's the Dr. Casey Show. The Dr. Casey Show.
Introducing to the show Regina Faison, president and founder of the Derek Faison Foundation. She founded this in October of 2004 in memory of her husband, who she lost unexpectedly to sudden cardiac arrest due to an undiagnosed heart condition. This foundation is her passion. Her entire family is involved, and you donate. She donates her spare time when she's not working in the community about getting out information into the community about the importance of automatic external defibrillators. If you don't know what an AED is, do not move. Don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss this information. So welcome to the Dr. Casey Show, Regina.
Thank you so much for having me, Casey.
My absolute pleasure. How many months ago was it that we first started talking about this?
Oh, gosh, was it about 6 months?
Yeah.
In the last 6 months that we started talking about it.
You really opened my eyes to so much, and I've become educated and inspired by what you're doing and your story. And I think you're very courageous for being out there, because a lot of people would turn the other way and just be focused on taking care of just themselves. And you're focused on not only, of course, taking care of your family, but of making sure that what you went through doesn't happen to other people. What was your knowledge of sudden cardiac death or even AEDs prior to what happened to your family?
Actually, very little, I have to say. I wasn't even aware of what the difference was between a sudden cardiac arrest and a heart attack. I thought they were the same things. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know what an AED was. So following the loss of Derek, obviously, I had started to do some research on my own to try to find out more about the disease, mm-hmm. and also information about what I could do to protect my family and my boys.
Right. Now, for those who don't know your story, and I don't want to go too far into that, mm-hmm. but could you share, for those who don't know Derek's story, what happened?
Okay, sure. Well, Derek was incredible man, first of all. He was a teacher, worked in the Orange County Department of Access Department, did a lot of work in the community, and he happened to be playing basketball one night at Irvine Valley College.
And he was a retired professional athlete.
He was a retired, yes. Prior to, of course, he was a very avid sports player. He played a year in the NFL. He played with the Rams, actually with all the California teams, the Rams, Niners, and the Chargers.
Wow.
For a short time. So very athletic, last person you would ever expect.
Right. Picture of health. You look at your husband and you think, wow.
Yes, definitely. And he liked to stay in shape. Always, playing basketball. Basketball was his love. He played in several men's leagues, and just so happened he was playing one night, a pickup basketball game in Irvine Valley. 4 minutes into the game, he collapsed.
Oh.
And unfortunately, there wasn't enough time, to get to him. By the time the paramedics got to him, it was too late.
And the community lost a valued member,
yes.
and a leader.
Very much so.
And you lost your partner.
My partner.
And we all are very, very proud of what you're doing now.
Thank you.
In his memory and moving on, and you've inspired a lot of people. I know that to be very true. So you learned from a personal experience that having the proper equipment nearby
mm-hmm.
is critical. Can you share more information about that for the listeners?
Sure. An AED obviously is a life-saving device, and
okay.
as you stated earlier, very well, I might add that if what happened to Derek is he had a cardiac arrest, which is an electrical disturbance of the heart.
Okay.
And the only thing that could have gotten his heart back into a normal heart rhythm is a shock.
Okay.
So these life-saving devices are needed. Basically nearby. Unfortunately, there wasn't one there that night. And also,
There wasn't one there at all.
no, there wasn't one in the gym that night.
Because you hear these horrible stories about how the school locks them in a room because they're too worried about them getting, growing
Right.
legs and walking away
Right.
or things like that.
Right.
There
That
would
wasn't
just-
the case here. There was not one there. So by
Oy.
the time, it was about 10 minutes before the paramedics got to him, and they did try to shock him 4 times, but unfortunately, it was too late.
Wow. How many minutes should someone, or does someone generally have before we start getting to the danger zone of too late?
You have a very small 10-minute window, and usually the quickest you can get to the victim once they pass down, once they collapse, is the most important key, is action. And the training, the CPR and AED training, the CPR training right now incorporates the AED. So that's the
right.
key. That is the key, is to get as many people trained so that they know what to do in case someone collapses. That is definitely the key.
Wow. So we're talking minutes, and if the AED device isn't on site, that's huge problem.
Yes.
If the AED device isn't nearby, big problem. If the AED device isn't used properly, then and people don't know how to administer it. So we're talking about multiple levels of making sure that the community is informed.
Right.
Now what can coaches and parents of athletes, because people don't understand, how is this an athletic issue? Maybe I should backtrack on some of that a little bit. One of the leading reasons that athletes' hearts can go into this type of an electrical shortage tends to be dehydration, for one. And then also it can get progressively more and more complicated with age. So this is why we see this occur in young children, but also with adults, because the older they get, the easier it is for their heart to have this type of electrical outage. If you're just tuning in now, this is the Dr. Casey Show, and I'm speaking with local community leader and founder of the Derek Faison Foundation, Regina, and we are talking about AEDs and how to save a life during a situation of sudden cardiac arrest where the heart stops. And if you're listening, you're thinking, well, this could not happen to me. This is not something that happens very often. Well, let's just look at recent news. Mobley gives grateful goodbye to the Knicks. That's right. The Knicks lost Mobley this year just recently, because he didn't pass screening that was necessary for him to be medically cleared. And the screening he couldn't pass is because he's at risk for this happening. A ticking time bomb, they said, basically. He's very grateful as an athlete, as a person, to be able to not have to go on the court, do his job, and worry about, about not coming home. And also, if you think, well, maybe this is just something that's new. Nope. Think back to Hank Gathers, the historic loss, the tragic loss of Hank Gathers on the court during a game against Portland in 1990. Now, I think I heard correctly, and again, this is I don't know how I don't know if this part of the story is accurate, and I've got to look at it. But I think Dave Smith said, they didn't want to shock him in front of people, so they waited until they could get him off the court. To try, and by that point it was too late. That's how little time we have. Yeah. Right, Regina?
Very small window. Very small window.
Oh, my goodness. Now, help us understand AED devices. Help us understand. Now, what exactly, how do these work?
How they work is basically when a victim goes down, the machine, the thing that's great about this, it's nothing technical that you have to learn, because the machine tells you everything you need to do, even to the point where they'll walk you through CPR.
Wow.
So it's basically, you open the machine, there's 2 pads that you strap, it tells you where to do, strap a pad here, on the chest and here, and basically they start walking you through CPR, and if they will perform.
You have one here, and it has a little screen, and I looked at it, all right, and it tells you in the window whether or not you've got a heartbeat or not, whether to shock or not, and the machine knows what to do, so you don't have to be scared.
The machine will perform an EKG.
Wow.
That's what it does. And if the victim requires a shock, it'll tell you shock advised, and you just press the button.
Wow.